You know what my favorite part of this movie was, and it's a short list. It's right after she dies. It's
Yeah.
like someone takes a
I thought you were gonna say the
saturation knob.
red.
Someone takes a saturation knob and dials it from 100
Yeah.
to 20.
Yeah.
And I was like, that's fucking cool. And I've never seen that before.
Yeah, that's kind of
There's a lot. I mean, like, honestly, watching this movie, um, even the other one, I'm like, all right, Peter Greenaway, you might have some explaining to do.
yeah, no,
Because
I think he
I
was
see where you
influenced.
stole you seem to have stolen an awful lot of bits
mhm.
from these two movies. Um,
Also, I kept thinking of Hannah and her sisters.
well, this is
Oh,
the
I
Well,
kept
yeah,
thinking
this
of. I know it's backwards, but I kept thinking of Woody Allen.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, Woody Allen made a comedy version of this.
Yes.
Yeah,
yeah.
so-
This movie is not in any way, shape, or form funny.
no,
No.
Well,
no.
Bergman also kind of made a comedy version of this before this. And it's funny because it's actually referenced in this because when Maria is talking to her husband, she's like, "Oh, let's go spend Easter with the Egbergmans. They've invited us." That's the couple from the last movie.
Oh, okay. They're kind of linked together. It's kind of part of
Mhm.
the Bergman cinematic universe.
Right. There's a
Sad.
clip.
The Bergman
Uh,
Cinematic Universe. Sadness.
That's
Sadness.
the thing. I
Ennui.
mean, the reality is this. If any movie deserved this background,
Oh yeah.
this movie certainly fucking does. And
Again, it's like I wasn't gonna fault Jim for the subject matter, but you know, the woman dying of
Hey,
cancer.
there were no Nazis.
No, there weren't any Nazis. The thing is, I was telling
read the
Chris,
room, Jim.
the same thing happened to you about 10 years ago too, so we're kind of both in the same boat.
Yeah, when
We'll talk
they,
about reading the room in the next movie too.
Yes, we will.
when they give her the sponge bath, and
Uh-huh.
I was like, yeah, okay,
Yeah, in there.
Mhm.
Uh-huh.
I
But,
will tell you, there is a great deal of this movie that I sort of sat there like a dog who'd just been shown a card trick.
yeah.
What's happening right now?
Yeah. Although
I especially like where it
Like,
goes to being
what
a
the
horror
fuck is
film.
happening in this movie right now?
And it does.
Agnes the undead comes and kisses her sister.
I just
that
or
was
the
but that was
breast-
wonderful.
like
Hold
practically
on.
the breastfeeding
Okay.
with the maid. Like, what the fuck is happening?
That
right
wasn't that wasn't
It wasn't.
breastfeeding.
Well, I
That-
mean,
no, it's just putting someone up against your body
Mhm.
as a way of conveying humanity and sympathy to them. It's
And
not
a visual reproduction of a Pieta.
right.
Well, there
And
was-
yeah, and also I think given the contents of the diary, we have an ambiguous relationship between her and
Well, they
Yes.
even mention it at the end where they said she's much too familiar with us now that
Yes.
Agnes is gone.
yeah.
right. Yeah.
There's a lot of I would say sly nods towards some relationships in this movie that may not be normal.
Yeah, that's true.
I'm not going to say the I word, but I was thinking it real hard. But I want to say something kind of piggybacking off of what Chris just said,
Right.
which is I don't feel like this movie deserves the basket of puppies emoji at all because I didn't give an absolute fuck about any of these awful rich people and how horrible they are to each other.
you're
But the
not
thing
totally
is-
wrong.
Well, that's
thing-
kind of evergreen for
It
these
must be
types of-
awful to have a lot of money and a huge house and a 24-hour servant, and that's
you
where
know,
all that
right.
existential
Okay, but you know what?
pain-
But
And the
I
way
would,
they
but hold on.
dismiss the servant.
And the way that yes, and all of the terrible shit that Joachim says about her, and then turns around and is like, "Thank you for your service."
Yeah.
Fuck you.
Uh-huh.
But the difference between this and a lot of other movies like this is Bergman,
Right.
because as much as I didn't care about the characters or really the story at any point in this movie, like, oh, for 45 minutes she has Christian movie cancer and then she gets screaming death cancer and then
Yes.
becomes a zombie.
Mhm.
Bergman is so fucking good at making movies
Yes.
that I did not care.
Yeah, same
Like,
here.
I
I
didn't
was
care that you didn't care.
I was
Right.
rolling
I
along
was
with this film really well, even though at some
I was-
point it's there is a sympathy gap between like, although
Right.
they're not. These isn't like Downton Abbey. They're not like incredibly rich. They're simply comfortable.
I've never
Yeah.
watched Downton Abbey.
Well, you know what I mean.
But
It's like they're not like royalty.
well,
You know,
yeah,
these
but this
guys.
is a
But
Nordic company, so they have or country, so they have taxes.
yeah,
Ha!
The thing about this movie is like it is so beautifully shot. It is so well shot in so
Yes.
many different ways.
Mhm.
The editing is terrific.
Mhm.
The very subtle use and especially not use of music in it. There's a lot of points in this movie where you would a lesser director would have tried to fill in with music, and he doesn't. He just lets these scenes play. Like he lets these characters go through many different emotions, not just in the same scene, but in the same take.
Yeah.
Like, what's her name? Curran,
Karen.
Karen.
the older one or the
scene-
younger one?
She's the one that's dying.
Oh, okay. Yeah,
No,
Agnes is dying.
Agnes.
Oh,
is the
sorry,
one that's
Agnes.
dying.
Sorry, yeah, Karen's the.
Hey, there's a
the-
dying one, the older one, the younger one. So that's
The older one the one who mutilates her vagina, so her
Well, what the
horrible-
fuck?
So her horrible husband doesn't want to be with her anymore. That scene where they're talking at dinner, she goes through like 12 different emotions
Yeah.
over the course of that not very long conversation, and he just lingers on it. He just makes you go down that path with her. And again, I didn't really care about her character or really a lot of what was going on, but just from like an acting perspective and a cinematic perspective, I was like, "Fuck, this is great!" Like,
this scene here with the priest coming in,
Yeah.
I was expecting the usual, like, oh, she was great, you know, we're all sorry.
no,
Nope.
her faith
Oh
is
no,
deeper
he
than
goes
mine.
to some incredibly weird dark places in his. It's like it was so Bergman too. And also, it's kind of like that Kierkegaardian thing about like we're all fucking doomed kind of thing.
And did you notice after he did that sort of confessional, like her faith was stronger than mine?
Yeah.
He kind of has this swagger as he walks out.
I know,
It's
it's
kind of
very
like he kind of like mic dropped and then walked out.
Right? Yeah, it's like I just truth bombed you bitches, and I'm out.
That's
Yeah,
what
right.
he did. That's what he did.
Yeah, thanks to 50 kroner for doing her thing there. I'm just gone, right?
To build on something that Tad said, Karen's character also does the same thing where she's talking to her sister Maria towards the end of the movie, and she just turns on her suddenly.
Yeah.
And it's
Yeah.
like everyone has been, bourgeois nice and friendly, and then
Oh, no, and then she just lets it rip.
I
and she
hate
turns
your
on-
insipid smile and your flirtatiousness,
And she turns on undead Agnes too.
yes,
All right.
She's like, I don't love you enough to want to go down this path with you.
Right.
yeah.
And it's like, so this is something that I wanted to bring up, which is I've seen that scene referred to in several places as a dream sequence.
Right.
Whose fucking dream is it?
Bergman.
No, I probably
It's Bergman,
I don't
since
think-
he's
I don't-
narrating.
But I don't think in the world of this movie that's a dream. I think that really happens.
Yeah,
Like,
Yeah.
I don't think anyone dreams that in
No.
this movie. And in fact, I think it breaks all three of the characters who were involved in it
Well,
in the long run.
the reality, the level of reality in this film isn't like the dream sequences and imagining stuff. It's the seventh seal.
Right.
That's the death's
It's all
really
on
here.
one
That's
level of
really gonna
reality.
show up. She's
Yeah.
really going to show up after she's dead. That's really going to happen in this
The
universe.
whole movie is dream logic.
Yeah.
So you can't
Yeah.
just pull one section out of it and go, this is a dream,
Right.
when everything else in the movie operates on the same level.
Right.
Like, there's no obvious, like, there's no before or after in that scene
Mhm.
that in any way feels more like a dream than anything that has come before and after it.
True.
So, like, I can't. I think, like Wikipedia and other places need to edit that, because that is not a fucking dream sequence.
No.
Not for this movie.
No, it's this film's reality, basically. Like Bergman did it first, but it's Lynchian and that kind of thing, where it's the physical world we live in is porous. You know, this is a spiritual world, half of it.
Well, and you look, I mean, look at what Chris has behind him right there. Like you can see
Oh, what? First of all,
you can see the fey creatures running around in the background.
Yeah.
Like
but
this is a universe where the real and the unreal coexist.
yeah.
Like,
Also, goddamn that scene! I almost sank to my knees.
That opening
So beautiful.
sequence is really quite
You
spectacular.
know, Sven Nykvist was just doing his own thing. I think he's like, I'm gonna, make some smoke happen out here. I gotta get this. Kind
well,
of.
and the scene where they at the end where they get on the
swing.
swing,
Yeah.
Yes.
like it's so bright and so filled that it feels as unreal as everything else in the movie, even though it's a normal movie scene.
Right.
You're just looking at it like, what the fuck is happening?
Oh, two things. One, do you think that the constant use of red in this? Like every room is red. All the wallpaper is red.
Even when it fades to black.
Even if it fades to black,
red.
it fades to red.
It fades to red.
Do you think he's signaling that this is not reality? That this is like, by simplifying his palette, you're kind of everything. It stylizes the world.
It's certainly weird, and I doubt that anybody's house was decorated like that in that time.
No. Unless there's a
Red
cloud.
carpet.
They painted everything red because the mansion that they filmed in hadn't been lived in for a long time. It was completely fucked up.
They could do whatever they wanted.
I think red paint was cheap. And it was like
It looks fucking cool.
It did. It was amazing. But how would you? The two sisters,
time period,
her and the younger and the older one. How would you kind of quantify their relationship? Because there was
two sisters,
I told you,
the two living sisters.
I was doing the older one disapproving of the younger one, or is it like the younger one just not paying attention to the older one? I couldn't figure it out. In some ways,
I told you I'm not going to say the word, but I'm thinking it real hard.
Not those two. Okay, that's what that's a theory. That's an interesting theory.
I think Karen. I think she's emotionally disturbed for sure.
You think?
And she vacillates. She apologizes after she lays into her sister and says some really unbelievably horrible shit to her. Then she kind of backpedals and was like, "I'm sorry, I didn't mean what I say. You know how I get," or something to those words to that effect. Yeah.
I'm Swedish.
Yeah, right. It's never going to be really happy.
Don't mind him. He's from Barcelona.
Yeah.
As soon as she picked up the piece of glass from the broken wine glass, I knew it was coming.
Oh yeah.
It was just like,
God, I almost left.
Oh no.
And yet that is not the first movie with that scene that we've had on Yelling About Movies. That's the second specific kind of self-mutilation. Which one?
I blotted it out. What was the first one?
I was afraid you're going to ask that because I can't remember.
The body temperature one, the 39 degrees, and was that what you're talking about? The French one with the crazy woman?
Yes.
Yeah,
piano teacher.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, piano teacher.
Piano
That's
teacher. That's
oh my
right.
God. That's three then, maybe.
Oh Jesus. And
it seems to be a trope.
Speaking of tropes,
European trope.
The broken glass is Bergman borrowing from Persona. He's maybe just likes broken glass.
Oh my God, this is our third Bergman. We're doing really well. Yeah,
Persona, Seventh Seal.
Seventh Seal.
Persona.
Oh yeah, you're right.
That's great, speaking of Seventh Seal, I think this movie's if it's not a remake, it certainly is covering the same themes. I think
does. Thematic universe.
It's the same thematic universe, and I think a little clumsier because, to me, this is sort of overwrought, and it's so miserable, and they're so angst-ridden, and there is no relief until the very end, which is the flashback to the girls on the swing.
Right,
and that's like the strawberries in the Seventh Seal, which is sort of 2/3 of the way into the movie.
Right.
And it's that little Max von Sydow moment where he's talking about the greatest thing he ever did was eat those strawberries. In this case, it's the girls on the swing. That's the greatest thing that ever happened. It's a moment of grace, but I think it's
you can tell how many movies Bergman wrote when he was unbelievably depressed on this tiny fucking island in the middle of nowhere.
He put himself there, though, man.
Yeah, but he was unbelievably depressed.
Bergman also, he's one of these few filmmakers who actively works through issues of faith with himself through his characters. And that happened in Seventh Seal. It happened in not less than Persona, but definitely this. He's always talking. He's talking to himself about the place that God has in his life.
Yeah.
through these characters, and that's a lot of it. And so it's kind of neat. Woody Allen tries to, but Woody Allen he kind of is a follower of Bergman. He ends up
Yeah.
doing talking about morality a lot as opposed to the actual
God.
God thing. So
And he really digs into persona in one of his early films, Love and Anarchy,
yes,
with the faces.
that wasn't called Love and Anarchy.
like
What's it
in
called?
profile and
Oh, I haven't seen that one.
Love and Death.
wheat.
Love and Death.
Love and Death is
Love and
Woody
Death.
Allen.
Wheat. I'm dying. I'm dead, and they're
Yeah,
talking
exactly.
about
Yeah,
agriculture.
yeah. There was I actually saw. I didn't see this. I saw that. I didn't realize that was this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Also,
Did anyone else
is very much Bergman.
Did anyone else
Right.
Google if Agnes, the actress,
Yeah.
was Maura Tierney's mom? Is that just a
I
Ah,
get that. Yeah.
She looked a lot like her.
Yeah.
a bit of a resemblance.
I tell you, I think this movie would have made a good play. It would not have surprised me had it started out as a stage play.
Mhm.
And I think there's a few things that sort of link these two movies together. Both of which, for me, is it's almost
Swedish
like,
sadness.
well, no, there's that, but there's the on its surface. But I would argue that for both of them, at least for me personally, it's almost like looking at abstract art. Like it's jam-packed full of metaphor, and like it makes sense except when it isn't, and it's reality except when it's just there's so many different ways to interpret these movies that I eventually sometimes just sort of like throw up my hands and decide, well, I'm just going to lose myself in the visuals. And fortunately, the visuals in this movie are
They carry you to the end, man. It's good
Yeah,
stuff.
that happened to
holy
me.
shit.
That happened to me about 3 minutes into this movie.
Yeah.
I was just like, nah, fuck it.
Yeah,
Let's
right.
go.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah, exactly. This is
I think
roller coaster ride.
I think I engaged with it a little more deeply than that. I do appreciate the cinematography for sure. Although to me, the red interiors and that period of time is very off-putting for me. It kind of like the hairstyles and those corsets and the frilly collars and the button hooks and all that just makes my throat close up for some reason when I see that kind of stuff.
I can see that.
I don't know what it is. It just gives me the heebie-jeebies or something.
before she
So
mutilates,
it's like, oh, this movie's so beautiful. It's like,
Also, I think one of the reasons I think one of these reasons you said in this era is that like if someone caught cancer back in the 1890s or whenever this is said, it's like I think the only thing they had for it was like fucking brandy.
Well, they didn't seem to have any fucking morphine.
Laudanum. She couldn't use
no one should have to be in that much fucking pain.
Where's the morphine? This is the peak of morphine use by doctors, right? So
it was
where-
legal back then. You could buy it at a corner store,
Yeah.
like next to the
Yeah,
gumball.
where's the laudanum?
Right.
Well,
he really likes to explore female characters. You know what I mean? Look
absolutely
at
he does.
Persona. Look at this. And I don't think he's judging these women. They're definitely fucked up, but then so are the men. But I don't think he's as interested in the men. The men seem
I don't think
No,
he's in the men at
he's
all.
not. He's not as interested in the men, which leads into some larger issues about Bergman.
yeah.
Yeah.
But he's not unsympathetic towards those women. I mean,
No, he's not unsympathetic. He goes a little bit too far in the other direction, where he gets a little too sympathetic about the people who worked for him.
right. I can see that.
okay, we're talking about his personal life now, not the film.
Right.
Okay.
Mm.
Okay.
Yeah.
But in the world of the film, though, I think he's interested in these characters, and he is kind of forgiving of these
Well,
characters.
like Persona, he likes to showcase female characters. It's just I think he's more comfortable doing that.
But he puts them at war with each other.
Yeah, exactly. He doesn't mind having a
I
fight.
think-
The thing is, he wants that conflict to happen on the female side of the fence.
I think he's largely forgiving of most of the characters in most of his movies. Like, I think one of the things about him is he is incredibly sympathetic towards people.
Yeah.
Like, I think just sort of in general, he looks at everyone as being as fucked up as he is, and like that's actually good. Like, and that's one of the things that I think Woody Allen fails at. I think Woody Allen's very much in love with himself and his ideas.
Yeah.
And Bergman kind of looks around at the world and goes, I'm just another one of these meat sacks who kind of sucks.
I know Bergman's actually saying, you know what, we're all completely fucked. We're just decaying piles of flesh on it, and there's no chance of going to heaven. So let's just watch this drama here and see what happens. It's
Right.
like, he is, that the very like Kierkegaardian angst guy. He's that's his thing, and it's great because it's fucking honest. You
I
know
think
what
it's
mean?
a pretty succinct sort of.
There was no part of this film that felt like a lie. It just was
No, not at all.
no. This was
Even
just
though some
yeah.
of the dialogue repeats itself, it's a web of lies.
Yes. Well, it is. Anyway,
Yeah,
golly,
but she says that right before she makes the decision to mutilate herself,
Right.
and then says that again as she's about to do it.
Yeah.
So I think that that kind of callback works really well for her character in that situation.
By the way, that's the only
But it
time
seems
Corinne smiles in the
unmotivated
whole movie.
from within the
Yep.
Yeah, that was
Sure
creepy
does.
as fuck.
That's the only time she smiles in this movie, I think.
Yeah,
It's
because she
after
knows
she cuts
he's-
herself.
after she smeared the
Yeah, well, that she
Hershey's
smiles.
chocolate.
She smiles in the bed too, right?
hey, baby.
because she knows
Come and get it.
because she knows she's not going to have to deal with him sexually for some period of time
Yes,
after
yes.
that.
That's
Yeah,
gotta
big
last.
break.
That'll buy you a week at least.
Yeah, maybe two.
Oh
Who knows?
God.
It depends how cold the winters are up there. Okay. Anyway, Jim, why'd you pick
Jesus
this film?
Christ.
Bring us home, Jim.
So I saw this movie for the first time in the 80s in the Plaza Theater there in Petaluma.
That's
Oh yeah.
And
Okay.
I got there late and I went up to the balcony and sat down.
This movie is the quintessential Petaluma experience.
I got up there and sat and watched the movie, and then the lights came up, and the theater was like deadly silent. And I
I'll
looked
bet.
around, and I was the only male in the entire
Oh,
balcony.
Oh God.
It was all women in groups of
It all
two,
makes
3,
sense.
4.
Oh God.
That's so funny.
And I swear I saw several heads swiveling and looking at me.
Oh,
You felt
my
eyes
God.
on you.
All of
It's
them
like,
looked
okay.
at you. All of them looked at you and went, "You're the problem."
You're
It's
the
like,
problem.
I smell a Y chromosome in this auditorium somewhere. You gotta go.
A double Y chromosome.
Get me the fuck out of here.
All right.
Anyway, I've always had a thing for Bergman. He's just a great filmmaker, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah,
He
same.
does have a troubled existence. In fact, since we've mentioned Kierkegaard so much, I've been going back and rereading
Right.
some stuff on Kierkegaard.
Uh-huh.
He was pretty much a failed pastor as well as a philosopher. And so this whole sort of Nordics trying to get faith and lack of faith, or falling away from faith, and like being assholes to one another thing just sort of resonates, I think, with
What's that series of books that came out recently that's all about that Norwegian guy who hates his dad?
Oh.
It's
Not a
like
clue.
thousands and thousands of pages of this guy just talking about like how much he hates his dad. And it's the most fucking Nordic thing I can possibly think of. It's just ennui and I hate my father.
Well, I mind you that Kierkegaard and Bergman are just basically working through the idea about why they're so goddamn miserable. And why there's no meaning to anything.
Well,
And I
there's
think it's
also
like, maybe they're not facing the fact they're Nordic. It's like, okay, you're Nordic, you got that big square head and you drink too much, and it's just like you're never going to be happy.
Cold.
It's cold and you have to eat herring. And so, it's like, so it's just, that's my theory and I'm sticking to it.
This will come up in the next movie, but if you go to Bergman's Wikipedia page, they list his relationships in the way they list most people's movies. It's just a list of fucking partner names with a little subset if they had a kid. And it just goes and goes and goes and goes.
Okay, I'm going to write that down. We need to scroll that right now.
Yeah, that should be on screen.
All right, that's it. Okay, thumbs up or down or sideways?
It's slow. It's arty. I enjoyed it.
I enjoyed the hell out of it. It was I just sucked right in, man.
there were no gasoline bombs.
No gasoline.
Very few.
I recently heard someone describe human brains as an inefficient bag of anxiety meat, and this fits so well into that understanding of humanity.